Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's been a long time since I posted a video and I don't really know how to start this video, mainly because I feel like when people take breaks from like YouTube or social media, they always tend to obviously give an explanation and a reason why they took a break, and I guess this is why I wanted to make this video, because I wanted to address the psychology of that and why we shouldn't really feel like we need to apologise for taking a break sometimes. You know, when you are a child and you go to school and, you know, there is a mandatory amount of attendance at school, and if you're not there, it's because you're ill, because otherwise you're in school. And then that kind of carries on into the workplace as well, you know, like you have to have a reason, usually an illness or something else that's happened. And I guess it comes from the kind of value of your output is in the time you spend on it. And I personally find that a really strange way of measuring success or measuring dedication to something. I do think that when things are important to you, you spend time on them. That's just kind of, you know, you value the things that are important to you. But it's things like if you consider a maths lesson and there's some maths that need doing, can you tell I'm not into maths? You might have some children that find it easier and solve the problem in 20 minutes. You might find some children that really struggle and they need the full like hour to do that work. And in that situation, one child is not more successful than the other just because they did it in a quicker time. Like at the end of the day, the maths problem was still sorted. The work was still done. The difference is obviously the child that did it in the quicker time then has the remaining time to do whatever. But also that's problematic for teachers because teachers have to build that in to have more tasks for people that finish more quickly. And we all know those people who, because they have to work sort of, you know, 40 hours a week or whatever, they spend kind of hours of their time like dragging out certain tasks or finding more things to do. There are jobs that I've had like that in the past where I've had like 3 hours left of my working day and only 2 things to do, so I've kind of dragged them out and, you know, maybe had a longer chat while making coffee or whatever. And it just highlights to me this idea that measuring your success or your output based on the time that you spend on something just doesn't actually work. But I think that's where this idea of like, oh, I haven't been able to commit to that, therefore I need to apologize because, you know, I haven't been showing up. I think that's where that thing comes from. Now, don't get me wrong, I have missed not uploading and I have wanted to upload, but for me, I've had so many other things going on in my life that have needed my attention, and that has meant that YouTube has been the thing that I haven't had the time to do. You know, it's kind of slipped. And that's a real shame because, like I said, I do like making videos, and, you know, I have messages from people saying that they're really helpful. I do automatically feel like I've let you guys down, and that's difficult for me to kind of sit with. But I also know that by taking care of myself, it means that I can better show up for you. So, you know, if I'd kind of carried on over the last few months and pushed and pushed and pushed and still put out videos, they probably wouldn't have been very good. And they would have caused a lot of stress in the rest of my life, and it would have meant that I couldn't focus on the things that I really needed to. So whilst I don't feel like I necessarily owe you an explanation, because I do think that we should kind of normalize taking breaks, that's kind of where I've been and why. And in terms of psychology, when we are struggling with multiple things, our brain tries to manage that by reducing the amount of things that it's struggling with. Like, it makes perfect sense, right? Otherwise, what happens is you have too much and then you get really stressed, and if you push through it, then the effects will, you know, happen for your body. You know, you will start to feel ill, you'll start to be tired all the time, you know, stress will take an impact physically, and eventually your body will say no. In the words of Gabor Mate, when the body says no. So I'm someone who's hyper aware of the amount of stuff that I take on a day-to-day basis. I do take on a lot anyway. Usually I can manage the amount that I personally take on, but over the past few months what's happened is other things in my life have happened that have meant that, you know, I needed to reduce my output. I've also reduced the amount of time that I've been on social media because, like I said, I've been focusing on other things, so that's kind of slipped as well. But what's happened from the limited kind of discussions that I've had is how much as a culture we just don't look at breaks as a good thing. You know, we all know how much we look forward to like taking a holiday, and if you work kind of full time, you know, you plan your holiday in advance, you really look forward to it, you have your week off, you come back, you feel so different having had that week off. But what we don't tend to do is we don't tend to plan breaks in our normal working lives, in our normal day. A lot of the time weekends get used to do the jobs that we can't do in the week because we're working, and as a society in the Western world, I don't think we really know how to kind of pause properly. And it's interesting when you look at children because, you know, you can kind of clearly see when they need a break. And I think as adults, we forget that and we just push on regardless. And then that can be really detrimental without us necessarily knowing. And I see a lot of people who maybe they've been working and pushing for such a long time, and then they have a breakdown and they wonder why. And it's like, well, you know, for the last sort of 5 or 10 years, when have you had like a proper break? And we don't normalise that in this culture. We have our allocated annual leave time from work, but most of the time when we have annual leave, we want to make the most of it, so we end up still being busy, just busy doing other things. And this is the point. People think that being productive is time spent doing the thing that you want to do, as if in time spent working will mean you're productive at work. Actually, if you take care of yourself, if you have relationships that are open and communicative and vulnerable with people, and by that I don't mean romantic relationships, I mean generally romantic and friendships, if you receive a high level of support in that way, if you are also well nourished, if you are hydrated, if you are looking after your body, and if you are prioritizing rest as well, and by that I mean like restorative time, like sleeping well, taking time out for yourself with the things that you're passionate about as well, looking after your mind, all of those things. If you are in the best place that you can be with those things, then you're more likely to be more productive. And we don't talk about that enough. The fact that, you know, having breaks is not being lazy, it's actually making you more productive, because when you return to the thing that you were doing or the thing that you need to do, you're actually more engaged with it, you're more passionate for it, you're more committed to it, because you've looked after yourself outside of that as well. So for me anyway, I feel like in this country we're on the wrong path. You know, we see things in the wrong way, and we all know that sometimes when you're struggling mental health wise, you can also start to detach a bit from the world. Also, when we're struggling, we can detach from relationships. So we can find friendships and engaging with people really, really difficult. And that can be really problematic, because if you're in a point where you're finding things difficult, actually you probably need support the most. But the difficulty is when you feel like you just don't want to engage with people. And often if you have friendships that involve a level of engagement where you're, I don't know, doing stuff together a lot, so you're going out for dinner, or you're, you know, going out for drinks, or going and watching movies, or any of those kind of social stuff, that can be really difficult when you're in a place where you feel like you just can't engage with that mentally. And that's when the awareness of self comes in, and you can kind of go, well, actually, do you know what? I'm not in a place where I feel like I can really engage in that way, but what I'd really like is someone to come over and sit and just watch a movie with me, so I'm not on my own. And if you have the level of self-awareness where you can identify those needs, and you have the relationships where you can communicate that, and you can not feel guilty or like you're letting someone down or like you're a failure, and you can actually let people in to your struggles and say, do you know what, I'm like Eeyore today, I just want to sit and have someone sit with me, and I don't really want to talk, and I may cry. Those levels of open communication with friendships mean that you can still have support whilst not pushing yourself to engage at a level that probably wouldn't be helpful. And I think overall the kind of take-home message of this sort of rambly video about breaks is that you know what's best for you. And this is a video that I thought about doing maybe last month, And I actually posted on my Instagram saying next week I'm going to upload this video, maybe. And the reason why I said maybe is because maybe it wouldn't align with me, and it clearly didn't because it's now been another month. But I did want to make this video just to kind of talk a bit about breaks and how important they are, and how even though I know I've been on a mammoth break and I probably should be apologising, actually I don't necessarily feel that need to, because I know that it was something that I needed to do at the time. Also, I got this beautiful brand new, well, it's not brand new now, but beautiful new sofa, so I have a nice blue backdrop now instead of brown. So if you want to get in touch with me, you can leave a comment down below. If you want to like this video, that would be great. I've forgotten all the spiel that I normally do. If you want to subscribe to my channel, that would be great, and I will catch you in the next one.